What is up guys, Andy Forestine Runner here, back with another video for you today. And today we're going to be doing something slightly different. Today we're going to be reviewing my running training from the fourth quarter of 2018. That is going to go through from the 1st of October right the way through to the 31st of December. I have been provided some awesome information by my coach, Doug, who runs TMR Coaching, for those of you who don't know. I know I talk about him a lot on my videos, but this video is going to give you a little bit more of an explanation about what we've been doing and the progress that we've been making. Now, Doug sent me through an email the other day with some awesome stats on it of the progress that we made during basically the first period when we started working together, because realistically we started working in September, so from October through to December is really the embryonic stage as to where we got to. That's going to start kind of part way through my 10k training, and then obviously building through to the start of my marathon training, and it's blown my mind a little bit. For a lot of you that know, I like to preach running by feel and getting to know your body and understanding the warning signs and how to, run by feel. Since I've been adopting that approach in my running, I have raced a lot better, been a lot more strong, and just I feel a lot more in tune with my body. So this kind of, it doesn't go against what I do, but it kind of, technology and all these graphs and data, it's kind of alien to me, but it's enlightened me and it's made me kind of like open my eyes to what's available to find out about your training. Now, to give you guys a bit of a kind of an update or a insight into what we do, we use Training Peaks. Training Peaks is an awesome bit of kit. Now, as a coach, Doug has kind of, let's say, a master account, and then as an athlete, we can plumb in and sync all our data. So as a lot of you guys know, I use Garmin Connect and Strava, and I can feed that directly into Training Peaks as well. So it's just another system that you can feed your stuff into. From that, Doug can pick and dissect all the bits of information that he needs during my running. It's fascinating. We upload our stuff on Strava if you're a Strava user, and it's just like you get your data, you get your times, you get your lap times, and job done. But this is really kind of incredible. And I'm not going to go into the massive detail that provides us, but there is some interesting graphs and statistics that I want to go through. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to just recap quickly on what training happened during that time. We're going to go through the stats that I've been given, and we're going to go through the improvements that I have made. So without further ado, let's recap on the training. Right, okay guys, so as far as training goes, when we picked up with Doug back in September, obviously as I said, we're not going to analyse September here, but when we did, we were obviously doing some bit of base building, ready to kick into the 10k training, and that was the first sort of week of September, and then literally the second week, bam, we were straight in it. Bearing in mind, we just come off the back of the Severn Bridge Half Marathon the week before in August. So basically, the long and short of it is the first part of the quarter was spent 10k training. Also within that, we had my wife's surgery, and then from there we went on to having a bit of a break afterwards because we had the stitch issues and things like that, and then we jumped straight back into marathon training. So let's hop onto Strava and have a look where we are. So as you can see, guys, we have got, as I said, we're not going to analyse September, but we did the Swindon Half Marathon in end of the first week of September, and then from there we started cranking up a bit of mileage there. We had a bit of a lower week in the middle of September, but basically when we got to kickstart of October with this analysis of the training, we started off with a blooming good week. And the reason we started off with such a cracking week, just looking at some of these sessions here, we had an 8x3 session that was tough, as you can see, and then we had another session on the Thursday, and then a nice easy long run. But then in this week, when we had a bit of a down week, that was the week of my wife's ankle surgery. So at that point, I took a bit of time off. From there, I was able to train a little bit for the next couple of weeks, because in here we were having a little bit of help from parents with school runs and things, so I was able to train. And then this week here we had half term, so the kids were off school, so I had the ability to train. But from there, training took a back seat, because obviously I had to start doing a lot more driving, doing a lot more looking after the kids. So as you can see, the mileage here over the next 5 weeks, although we were getting some quality sessions done, some tempo runs there. Yes, that was the tempo run that we did. I did a video on that one where we compared from when we started the tempo run at the beginning of the plan in September to now, and then we did a lot of other workouts. So that was my new at 9 race, 3rd place overall. And even here we were still doing, at that point, that was the day when I realised what my stitch issue was. And we were still doing a lot of good quality workouts there. As you can see, we've now kicked into marathon training. We did a nice easy fartlek session there, 1 minute on, 2 minutes off. So it was at this point after the race here, midway through November, that marathon training really kick-started. Took a nice easy one, and that day I just thought to myself, do you know what? I'm not working on a plan. I'm having my own time to do what I want. That was just a bit of fun. And then bam, 20 miles, just chilled out. That was a great fun run. From there, guys, we then went into December, ramping up the mileage a little bit. So these next 3 weeks in December here were pretty decent before we wound down for Christmas. And that leads us up to the end of Christmas week there, where I did a 5K time trial. And all of this stuff here, guys, this is all nice marathon training work preparing us. Nice easy fartleks, nice easy workout, 4x1 mile fartlek stuff, up and down the ladder, and another tempo run. So just kind of really getting in that good stuff before we kick started into January, as you can see here. Hey guys, so that was a recap on training. Now let's go through these graphs that I've been sent, because they're pretty wicked. So this first graph that we're going to go through is basically summarising and showing the longest workout that we did during those periods, week by week, in kilometres, not miles. Now I'm a miles man, to be honest with you, I work in miles, but this is in kilometres. So as you guys can see on screen, we have a trending upwards graph. What this means is effectively in the first section is where we were really focusing on the 10K training, and the workouts were of a shorter distance but of a higher intensity. And then as we kicked more into sort of getting ready for the marathon training and just chucking in a few little workouts here and there, ready to really kickstart the marathon block in January, you can see that some of the longer workouts really kicked up, especially that last peak there where we have got nearly a 30K workout. Now, obviously you've got to take into consideration those are the long run workouts, but that's going to be, as I've said in previous videos, a staple part of this plan, and as we progress forward, those average workouts will get sort of higher and higher as we go up through. So that's a really interesting part. I know it may be a little bit obvious, but it's always interesting to see where you've come from and you're moving to in your training. Going from 10K to a marathon training is quite a jump, but I love it because I get to work on the shorter, sharper stuff for a few weeks, and now for a few weeks I get to do the marathon stuff. So that is the first graph. Now this graph is an interesting one. This is time spent in each heart rate zone. Now I have a 7-zone plan. We've got the zone split up in Training Peaks into 7 different zones. As you can see in the beginning, this is kind of almost an opposite of the graph. As you can see in the beginning of a few weeks, there's a lot more of the darker red, although the percentage of the darker red at the top of the bar charts in each of these isn't massive. You can see that in the beginning it's a lot more than it is towards the end, and that naturally is going to be down to the fact that in the 10K training that we're doing, we are spending more time in those higher training zones doing things like the 400 meter repeats, doing things like 2-minute repeats, 3-minute repeats, 4-minute repeats, working harder, trying to stay in that top end zone for a lot longer. Whereas as we move down towards the marathon training, you guys can see there's a lot more time spent in the slower zones, in the lower heart rate zones, and less time spent in the short, sharp stuff. And obviously, again, that might be a bit of an obvious thing to say, but for me, that's awesome because, again, what we've done is we've spent a good 7 or 8 weeks we did 10K training, really hammering that top end stuff, and now we're going to be working more on those tempo and threshold zones, whereas before we were really digging into that VO2 max stuff there, as you can see earlier on. So again, a really interesting graph there to look at. And again, guys, this final graph is more about time spent in the speed zones rather than in heart rate zones. And again, it doesn't follow a similar pattern. So in the first graph, we had a bit more of an upward trend. This one we had, the second one we had kind of a downtrend. This one is a bit more kind of even out, up and down. But again, if you look closely, you'll see in the beginning few weeks, we have a lot more time spent. I'm looking at it on screen now, which is why my eyes are diverting. You can see a lot more time spent in the upper speed zones, especially if you look in the first 4 columns. You've got the top dark blue zone, and the one below that we spent a lot of time in that kind of 6th zone doing a lot of the harder workouts. And again, as we go through the plan, if you look and move across, you'll see there's a lot more time, especially that last bar chart there, and maybe the 2 or 3 before that. You'll see there's a lot less of the dark blue and a lot more of the lighter blue. And again, it's just showcasing the fact that in the beginning we were really focusing on that speed and working on that sort of economy at that speed level, bearing in mind we were doing things like 15 by 400 meters, 18 by 400 meters and 20 by 400 meters. It brings back nightmares, whereas now we're doing things more marathon pace, maybe like 3 by 15 minutes, where we're trying to get into those sort of tempo and marathon pace zones and half marathon pace zones, which aren't obviously quite as high as the 10k and the 5k and beyond. So again, another interesting and awesome bit of data there for me to look at. So guys, let's get on to the progress. I was going to say, I know what you're thinking. What does all of this mean? What does all of this have to do with anything? Well, guys, obviously we're always looking for progress in running. We're always looking to progress. And it's great to see that we are making progress in some way, shape or form. And just a bit of information that I've been given by Doug, which is really interesting. So obviously I can feel the progress that I've made in my training, and I'm running certain reps quicker and this, that and the other. But if we go back right at the beginning to October, to the end of December, some interesting stats for you guys. If I was running a 1 kilometer repeat, so if I was running 1k repeats, in the beginning I was doing those in approximately, again, my eyes are going to divert to the screen so I'm not being rude, they were running between sort of 325 to 326 pace, whereas now towards the end of December they were down at 320. That's quite a big difference. 5 to 6 seconds is a big difference over 1 kilometre in just 3 months. So again, that's massive. If we take kilometre splits out of any work I was doing a mile and above, so if I was doing mile repeats, for example, if we just took a kilometre segment out of there, I was maybe running those at around 329 to 328. Again, I've dropped down to 321, so my mile repeats were being run a lot quicker. So again, that, if I can explain that properly, within a mile, if I just took a kilometre out of that, the fastest segments of those kilometres were back in the day 328, 329, and now we're looking down at 321. That's massive. That's a massive improvement, especially over the mile distance. And finally, same again for the 5k. If I look at the 5k and we take out a quickest kilometre out of any workout over 5k, we're looking at running there. We were doing in the beginning 350 and we have got that down to 328. 328. So if we take, you know, that's going to be maybe, obviously on the longer long runs, anything over 5k we were running, you could pick out a kilometre segment, some of the fastest stuff, pick it out, and we were doing around 350 kilometre pace, dropping it down to 328. That's massive. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big hitter. So you can see, guys, just from focusing on the 10k and now to marathon, just in 3 months, we've made such big improvements over the shorter distances, and I'm hoping really to take that through to the longer distance now. It's exciting stuff. When I get to see this, obviously, I know when I do my workouts how I feel, and I can see on Strava how well I've done or not done, but to get that physical data and to actually look at it and hear that from a coach is another thing. So again, fantastic stuff. So there we go, guys. That is it for today's analysis video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you found this a useful video. If you did, please do let me know below. And of course, what I will try and do is then do a quarterly one this year. And of course, don't forget to check out Doug from TMR Coaching. His link is in the description below. He has done wonders for me. And if you, of course, are looking to take your running to the next level, do not look anywhere else. Doug is a fantastic person and I would highly recommend him. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. And I will see you next time. Until then.